Yes. Yes.
I rise first, giving all praises to Allah, the great God of the universe, and I give honor to His and our prophet, who did come to us in due time to bring us this old-time religion and everlasting gospel. I give honor to all that the prophet brought to us. I give honor to the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I give honor to the questionnaire, Questions for Moorish Americans. I give honor to the laws and constitution that the prophet brought to us. I give honor to the charter which bears on it the 10 wonders of the world. I give honor to my brother and sister Muslims, sheikhs, visitors, and friends. Islam. This afternoon, I was thinking in terms of learning. By profession, I have been a teacher. And the part of the duty of a teacher is to see that our children or adults, because I teach adults also, learn whatever it is. But one of the things that we need as we learn is a desire to learn. And very often, our school system is taking away our children's desire to learn.
That's right.
There seems to be very little that our children want to learn, at least about history and language and mathematics and things like that. You'll have one child say, well, I really like math, but I don't like history. You'll have another child say, I really love history, but I hate to write, and various things like this. And one of the things that we need to do is teach our children. I'm going to read one verse, or two verses from chapter 6, page 12. And I'm going to read verses 15 and 16. And then he, meaning Prince Ravana of India, said, and then he asked that he might be patron of the child, meaning Jesus, might take him to the east where he could learn the wisdom of the Brahms.
That's right.
And Jesus longed to go that he might learn. And after many days, his parents gave consent. It is not an easy thing to allow your child, a 12-year-old child, go somewhere to learn something from another place. It tells us that with his long train, they journeyed across the desert. And their train didn't have a choo-choo or a track or anything like that. Their train consisted of camels and probably other beasts of burden. And they traveled many days to get to Ravana's palace where he lived, where he could teach. But the prophet also instructs us to teach our children. Mother is the first teacher. Father also has to teach. We have to teach our children. We teach our little brothers and sisters, just as this brother is teaching his little one right now. We have to teach our children when it is appropriate to do certain things and when it's not appropriate to do certain things. We have to teach our children ways to act in public and in private. And from page 38, the prophet teaches us in chapter 23, holy instructions, he says, for our children. It says, consider thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust, the being thou hast produced, it is thy
duty
to support.
Yes.
We have to support our children, and we have to understand that support isn't just money. Support isn't visiting our child every 2 weeks and twice and on Thursdays every other week. Support is learning about that child. Because just as all adults are not alike, all children are not alike either.
Yes.
Some children like to cook. Some children like to run and play. Some children like to build things. And it's up to us to support what they like and help them learn better how to do those things. Not to criticize them because they want to draw pictures. The pictures that we have up here were drawn by Brother Lee Bay. And I say, keep on going, keep on doing it, draw more pictures, and I believe that they're for sale too, are they, brother?
Everything's for sale.
Everything, you say everything's for sale. So think in terms of what your child can do. And if your child can draw, encourage that child to draw. If your child can play piano, encourage that child to play piano. If your child loves to play doctor, and I mean in the medical sense, encourage that child to play doctor. To encourage that child to find a way to get into medical school if it's necessary, or a school of, I have a problem pronouncing this word, naturopathy, which is an alternative medicine that teaches people how to use nature as medicine and not the drugs that our doctors give us. But we need to support our children in every aspect of their lives, not just making sure, of course we make sure that they have clothes on their back. Of course we make sure that they have food in their bellies. Of course we make sure that they have, that they or their mothers have enough money to spend to get them these things and money for their education. But the prophet is telling us the child, the being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. He didn't say it would be a nice idea if you supported that child. He didn't say, well, maybe, you know, when you have money, you can give a little bit. He says it is thy duty to support that child. He said, upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, a useful or a worthless member to the community. Very often we see parents who don't pay attention to their children, who defend their children's wrongdoings. I've seen it a lot. I've seen, because I was in the classroom, I saw this often. You would tell a parent that your child did this, and the parent would say, oh, my child would never do that. I saw your child do that. Oh no, that was somebody else's child. He was 3 feet in front of me. No, you're mistaken. It was somebody else. They all have on uniforms and they all look alike. Parents do make excuses for their children's wrongdoings. We can't do that, parents. We can't make excuses for our children's wrongdoings. We need to talk to our children, let them know, oh no, that's not acceptable. Or as my mama would say, not in this house you won't. I got caught stealing a piece of penny candy. One little piece of candy.
That's right.
And the punishment I received would have gotten her in jail today. But her words were, I'm not raising a thief. And it didn't matter that it was a piece of penny candy. It was an orange slice, if you want to know what it was. It was an orange slice. But her words were, I'm not raising a thief. And this is what we should tell our children when they do things wrong. I'm not raising a thief. I'm not raising a liar. And she would also say that anybody who will lie will steal.
That's right.
That's what she would, that's the way she raised us. Do you think I took another orange slice?
No.
No. No. And that was a punishment for one little piece of candy. Small piece of candy. But she said, I'm not raising any thieves. Not in this house. Not in this house. He says, prepare him early with instruction and season his mind with the maxims of truth. Watch the bent of his inclinations. What does your child like to do? Because even though I did earlier say support what your child likes to do, but if your child likes to hit other children, maybe we don't want to support that one. If your child likes to pull a chair out from under adults or children, we don't want to support that.
That's right.
But we can turn that energy around. Knowing what the child likes to do, we can turn that energy around to something that can be more productive. I'm not saying dictate what your child should be. You also hear parents say, well, my child's going to be a doctor, and that child can't stand the sight of blood. How's that child going to be a doctor? So we have to watch what, he says, watch the bent of his inclinations and set him right in his youth, and let no evil habit gain strength with his years.
That's right.
He shall rise like a cedar on the mountains. His head shall be seen above the trees of the forest. A wicked son, the prophet tells us, is a reproach to his father, but he that doeth right is an honor to his gray hairs. The soil is thine own. The soil is thine own. Cultivate it. Cultivate it in the way that you want it to go. Let it not want cultivation. Want means lack. Let it not lack cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, that also shalt thou reap. If you make excuses for your child's wrongdoings as a child, you will see that child on CNBC years from now, if CNBC still exists. If you make excuses for your child's wrongdoings, you will be visiting that child in an institution. And this is not what we want for our children. What we want for our children is for our children to be productive, for our children to be, if your child says he wants to drive a bus, let him drive a bus. Don't tell him he has to be a doctor. Don't tell him he has to be a lawyer. You want to drive a bus? Then you learn how to drive. You get your licenses. You go down to wherever it is that you go and you apply for a job as a bus driver. He may decide later that he doesn't like driving a bus, but at least he tried and you supported it. If your child wants to be a teacher, encourage that child to teach. Let him teach one lesson in Sunday school. Let him do something that helps him or her become a teacher. When we were growing up, our parents didn't tell us what we wanted to do, tell us what they wanted us to do. But they did encourage us by saying, and we heard this all the time, my sister can attest to it, we heard this all the time, when you go to college, thus and thus and thus and thus. We were never given the opportunity to say, I don't want to go to college. All of us went to college. All of us didn't graduate, but we all went to college. And the way that my father and my mother spoke to us, it was, when you go to college. It wasn't, gee, I sure hope someday you can go to college. We can't discourage. Last week I talked about happiness, and I talked about how we are creators and create our own. We create our own, and we create that college education and that college opportunity.
That's right.
We create it. We don't sit back and say, I sure hope that we have a way, or how can I send my child to college if I don't have the money to feed him? There will be a way. You set the goal and let the ethers take care of the method, of the in-between. All you're concerned about is the right now and the goal. Let the ethers take care of the in-between, of the how-tos. And trust me, the ethers will find a way for that child to go to college. They found a way for me to go. They found a way for me to go, and they found a way for me to go back. I didn't have a plan. I had a goal. I had a goal. And the ethers found the way for me to go. He said, a wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doeth right is an honor to his gray hairs. The soil is thine own. Let it not want cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, that also shalt thou reap. Teach him obedience. And now it's telling us what to teach our children. Teach him obedience, and he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty, and he shall not be ashamed. I saw a movie yesterday. It wasn't one that made the big screen. It's on the small screen. It was called 35 and something, or 35 and up, or something like that. And there was this one character on there who spoke so highly of himself that nobody liked him. Nobody liked him. There was no modesty there. It was, I'm good. I'm an NFL player, and I did this and I did that. And people would do everything they could to get away from him. Now that was a movie, but I've seen people who do things and speak like that. And people do everything that they can to get away from a person who has no modesty. He said, teach him gratitude, and he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity, and he shall gain love. This is like two sides of the same coin. Gratitude is being grateful for what you have, regardless of how big or how small it is. Be grateful for it. Oh, I've got a nice toothpick. I can get this, whatever it is, out of my cavity.
Teach on it, sister.
And teach him charity, it says, and he shall gain love. Charity does not necessarily mean giving money or giving things. Charity can also mean giving time. Charity can also mean helping someone in any way whatsoever. In the place where I live, there are quite a, well, everybody in there is over 65, but beg pardon?
No.
Yeah, they are.
They're young.
Yeah, they're young. Some are very young thinking people. But there's a 95-year-old lady that I sit with just for the sake of being company for her. And that's charity. That isn't giving money. That isn't saying, well, I can't give any money. When you hear, because most of us, when we hear the word charity, we think in terms of digging down in our pockets. We don't have to dig in our pockets to be charitable. We can think charitably, and good things will manifest. We can do things like giving time. We can serve people breakfast. We can make sure that our neighbors have something to eat. We can invite them into our homes for dinner. My mom, there was a little boy, Rusty. I don't know what his real name was to this day. I don't know what his name was. She fed him breakfast every morning, and she didn't give him one thing and feed us something else. Whatever we ate, Rusty ate. If it was oatmeal, Rusty ate it too. If it was cornflakes, that's what Rusty ate too. If it was eggs and toast and grits, Rusty ate that too.
Yeah.
Treat people the way that you want to be treated. And this is another part of charity. Treat people how you want to be treated.
That's right.
And this is the way that the world works. What you put out there, what does it say? The seed that thou sowest, that also shalt thou reap. Teach him temperance, and he shall have health. That's teaching him that he doesn't have to eat everything that he sees that doesn't move off his plate. It says, teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. That's teaching him how to spend money wisely. Not just giving him some money and sending him to the mall, and he comes back with one Xbox game when he needed a pair of shoes and a couple of shirts. Teach him prudence. Teach him how to spend that money, and teach him how to do it wisely. We start by going with them to the mall, and then we teach them by our example, and then we can send that child to the mall by himself, or to the grocery store, or wherever it is. Send him or her by herself. That's right. I keep saying him, but I mean both girls and boys, so forgive me if you think I'm only raising boys. Because I had two girls too. Right. It says, teach him justice, and he shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, and his own heart shall not reproach him. Teach him diligence. That's how to work. How to divide your time up so that you can do jobs the way that they need to be done, so that you're not always, well, for me, the worst job, and I would do it if I had to, would be working in a plant where all I did was stamp something all day long. That would, to me, that would be the worst job, because I wouldn't be able to mingle with people. Trust me, though, I would do it if I had to. But I have been fortunate enough not to have to. I like to be with people. So teach him diligence. Teach him that if he does have to stamp something all day long, that he can do it, and that it's an honorable profession or honorable thing to do until he or she learns to do something else, something more suitable to their personality, not suitable to the world, suitable to their personality.
That's right.
Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Science, people think in terms, always think in terms of chemistry when you say science, or biology, but science is a lot of other things. Science is mechanics. Science is knowing how to lift a package, how to do various things. It's how to repair an automobile. It's how to fix a stove so that you can cook. It's how to arrange, like our brother back here right now, how to mix flavors so that it tastes good to the people who are eating it. And these are the things that we need to teach our children. Teach our daughters and our sons to sew. Teach our daughters and our sons to cook. Teach our daughters and our sons to clean house.
Yes,
teach our daughters and our sons how to dress well for the weather. We have to teach our children, and all of that is science. All of that is science. I'm one of those people, I can't look at a blank room and decide how it's supposed to look later. That's not in my personality. But I can look at a ball of yarn and see a blanket or a sweater in it. Different people see different things. They say that a sculptor can look at a block of wood and see the statue that's going to be, that he or she is going to create out of it. I don't have that talent. But like I said, I can look at a block of material, at a bolt of material and say, wow, I can take this and I can make a dress that has this, and all of this is part of science. It's being able to use your own imagination to create something. And if you see that your child has that type of imagination, buy a sewing kit for that child. Teach that child how to get in the kitchen and stir up those pots and pans. Teach that child how to do whatever it is that is going to help that child create a better world for himself, his family, and his community, or her community. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. His relationship to God, his relationship to, and trust me, his relationship to God is shown by his relationship to other people in the world. I heard a man say one time that the true measure of a man's religion is how he treats other people. And that makes a lot of sense, because what did the prophet tell us? Why were we given this but to stretch it out to the assistance of our neighbor?